year is 2021, and New Masters Academy is still the absolute #1 online art school in the entire space galactic universe. Click the link down below for a free 7-day trial. Thank you, New Masters Academy. I am in your mind. I am in your... Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey and Absinthe After Hours podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for the Hollywood animation industry.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
Now today we're going to talk about culture is shifting and how artists can take advantage.
But before we get into it, make sure to like, jingle, touch all our bells and buttons. Help us feed the algorithm.
Please and thank you very much. You also look quite amazing. You're making me feel all sorts of feelings, all sorts of butterflies. You look absolutely amazing, and you're going to have a fantastic week.
You guys are going to have a great week, a great Monday, because you're listening to this podcast.
How good do they look?
They look really good.
Good.
You guys look really good.
Well, first things first, I want to start with a small little story that I told Janet. I want to wait until I get the podcast started. Oh, first of all, I hope you appreciate the haircut. I had to wait for the little horny tough thing in my widow's peak to grow out enough for me to, chop everything off, because if I chop everything off too early, it's just going to be uneven. Yeah. It's going to be a mess. So I have a new haircut. So everyone listening over at whatever, Spotify or Apple. YouTube. I have a haircut now. But first things first, I want to tell a story about Mr. Neely. So Mr. Neely is, I've been going to this guitar tech person, and as you may or may not know from the last vlog that we've done, episode, what is that, 26? Episode 26, I bought myself a brand new guitar. So I take this guitar to Mr. Neely, who owns Mr. Neely Guitars in Sunset Boulevard over here in sunny Los Angeles. Sunny, dying, decaying, decrepit, smelly Los Angeles. Yeah. But I take my guitar to Mr. Neely and I tell him, hey, look, check this out. Because Mr. Neely was like, that other guitar that you have, it's better off to probably buy a new guitar instead. Yeah,
because you wanted him to turn it into the guitar that you bought.
Yeah, but he explained to me in very crazy detail. So Mr. Neely is this very seasoned guitar tech in Hollywood who apparently used to work at the Gibson Nashville factory in the 90s. So I show him my new guitar, which is a Gibson Les Paul Gold Top from 94. And he's like, oh my God, you got a really good one. And he starts fiddling around with it, and he starts playing it with it, and he starts to explain I was in the Gibson factories in the 90s, and they really don't make them like they used to. And I was like, really? Is that really true? Is that a thing? Because there's tons of Gibson, facing, what is that? Bankruptcy. Yes. Teetering in and out of bankruptcy.
Like many artist companies, I guess. Yeah,
it was sad to say, but I don't know. Apparently, to Mr. Neely, they don't make them as good as when he was around. Apparently, they're just all factory made. And back then, when he was managing the guitars in the factory, he would see all the ladies. The ladies would be the one, after the guitars are all fixed up, would file the guitar and make it absolutely perfect, every single angle, just absolutely pristine. And then as they were, doing this stuff, he said they would be talking shit about their husbands and stuff. And then just gossiping about their husbands, but still making sure every fret is just perfect. The neck is just perfect. But now he says that the guitars in the factory are just shat out and just by machines, barely inspected, and just go yeah, go get sell the shit. And he says he said something you can't expect people to do a good job if you don't treat them right. And I told Mr. Neely, you know what, Mr. Neely, no truer words have ever been spoken. And we both had a laugh. And then I immediately thought of you.
I think I had to like work or something when you went. So
you had tons to do. So
Yeah.
like, you went the first time with me
Yeah.
when we met Mr. Neely for the first time. You can't really.
There's a story about Mr. Neely that I can't really share publicly.
Yeah.
But he's a very cool guy. Let's just say that. Because if I share the story, we all would get in trouble.
get in so much trouble.
Yeah.
Anyway, we wanted to talk about how culture's shifting for a while now, right?
Yes.
But we weren't really sure. We were sort of like, is our imaginations or people changing their minds and sort of like figuring out stuff?
Yeah. I think there's no real way for us to give you proof that culture is shifting, because how do you do that?
How do you do that? How do we prove that? How do we measure that?
Yeah, so in a way, it kind of is our predictions as like what we're seeing in the world. Like we say, like, we kind of just like, you know, predict things and just observe the world and go like, okay, I think this is gonna happen. And that's kind of how we go about trying to get successful.
Because we're constantly finding what is the need, you know, what do people want? What do people want?
Yeah.
And we try to provide that for them. Any good business should think about that.
Yeah, we just kind of stick our finger in the wind and go like, I think it's blowing that way.
Yeah, okay, let's go that way.
So I guess first, I think we have to define what we mean by culture, because no one ever defines it.
So you told me recently that, and this is amazing, I had no idea that when you type a name into your YouTube thing, you're trying to, it tells you the reading level of the thing.
Yeah.
Of your title.
Yeah, so I use a character counter to make sure the titles of my videos are under 100 characters long, because that's the max. And sometimes I make the titles way too long, so I just want to check, is this 90, 80, 101? Do I need to use less words or something? But one of the benefits of using this thing, at the top it tells me what's the reading level of whatever I typed into the box. 9 times out of 10 it says it's like college graduate reading level or something, whatever, like collegiate something. And I was like, I guess I write like a college graduate.
Yeah. And when you told me that, I was like, what? I can't believe there's technology that can detect that.
Yeah.
But then the other thing was like, maybe we should like tone down our vocabulary.
But then I was like, that's how you speak, though.
We're
not trying to randomly throw in big words. That's just, the most fitting word.
Which is why I think we should take extra care into at least helping everybody be on the same playing field as to what we think culture is.
Yeah. So culture to me is what our society values. I think culture can be defined by what is as a whole, and it can change between groups of people. And I think your culture, however you grew up, where you grew up, matters. But as a whole, I think the United States has a culture, Canada has a culture, China has a culture, Europe has a culture, different countries has a culture. And I think a lot of that, whether you acknowledge it or not, is defined by artists of all types, artists as a whole, musicians, actors, writers, drawers, painters, media, news, entertainment. And it's as a whole, those things kind of dictate what is popular, what do we like, what music do we like, and why do we like it, and that kind of stuff. Who
are the artists we value, who are the celebrities we value, even,
and then
movies, stories, books.
That turns into what do we value, period.
Together, period. In this point of time.
Morally, do we value education? Do we value this? Do we value that? beauty standards, like it determines literally everything outside of like functionality, because you know we need to eat, we need to take care of ourselves, and when we get hurt we need to go to the doctor, yes, but outside of like functional stuff, that everything else to me is cultural, that's defined by things that aren't as useful to society, I guess. And like when we were trying to define what we think is culture, I really like thought about, again, I've told this story before about how growing up the people around me didn't value art. No one ever expected anyone to become an artist especially when you grow up in a mostly Asian area. Everyone just becomes accountants, lawyers, doctors. Anything non-arts related. So I had several people tell me this actually, but I remember this person in particular because she's a good friend and I value her opinion. And she basically was like, art, there's no use for art. Art's like useless, like compared to being a doctor, at least. And I said before, like at the time I didn't have a good answer for that, like, because in a lot of ways she was right, and I didn't understand what value does art have. I just like to draw and paint, like, so what, I'm useless, okay, whatever. But then as I went through art school and I see the world as it is, I realize that actually no, we have a very, very important role to play. And I've said it before that, like, culture is invisible to you. I don't think we walk around every day and go like, oh, this is our culture.
You immediately see it and go, oh, I see.
I see culture.
Yeah.
Or you can see, like, the effects of a doctor, an engineer.
And you recognize patterns. Yeah.
But, like, with art and culture, it's not something you really think about. It's something you just enjoy without even thinking about it.
Right.
And I've said that our value is invisible to people, because if we did our jobs right, you're not supposed to see the design of something. You're not supposed to see the inner workings of something, which is scary and powerful, because like we always say, Hollywood, the media is manipulating you. They're brainwashing you. What you choose to consume will dictate who you are as a person. And
truly,
yeah,
what
really.
You choose to consume. It's like I was talking to you recently about how I predict that one day, all of this mental health craze, and sort of everyone having a social media diet will, I think, one day make all the social medias so insecure that they're gonna have to like create like social media mental health awareness events and stuff like that to make it seem like they're part of it. Sort of like when Super Size Me came out and everybody suddenly became super conscious of the junk that they put in their body. Everyone's hyper conscious of the junk that they're putting into their minds right now.
Yeah. And I still think, though, there's a lot of people that they understand social media is harmful, because it's easy to be like, man, I'm using Instagram a lot and I don't feel good. But I don't think people understand that maybe if you watch only Disney movies, your brain is gonna rot. Like, I don't think people know that.
I had a healthy diet of Disney movies, I think, growing up. I
so.
Watched it as I grew up. Whether I rented movies or watched movies in the theater, I watched like a healthy amount of action, sometimes even a little bit of romance, but I'd watch like 1 or 2 Disney movies a year for sure. But now 1 or 2 Disney movies for most people is like 5, especially, past 4 years, where like, if you watched a Star Wars movie, Marvel movie, or a Disney movie, it's sanctioned by Disney.
Mm-hmm. And Disney, in a lot of ways, raised a lot of people, which is really scary to say now that we're older. They taught people right from wrong.
Their brand of right from wrong.
Yes, and certain values and things, which, you know, if you look back on a lot of the stuff we grew up with in the 90s, that's fine. It's like nothing really that bad. That, like, really nothing. They didn't teach us anything that bad. But now, knowing the amount of, like, propaganda that, you know, our peers are injecting into our TV and our movies, it's really quite terrifying to me what the next generation of young people growing up on animation are going to turn into.
Those are mighty words, babe.
It's not true. It's so like, it's not even hidden anymore. Like, the weird color stuff is like, oh my god. I worry for the children who had to watch this and grew up just brainwashed.
We went out to our favorite breakfast place again, and we had this really interesting conversation as to who's topping the charts. You know, you can tell a lot about, you know, where people are at just by, like, who's top of the charts right now in music. Yeah. I usually like to do this with the box office. To me, that, like, tells me a lot of, like, where people are at, like, mentally. Mm-hmm. And right now, the box office telling me people don't want to fucking go to the movie theaters.
There are no movies.
There are no movie theaters to even fucking go to. And even if there are fucking movies to watch, no one wants to watch them. Everyone's out going to the beach.
Yeah. I am still reading David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me on Audible. And if you want to learn about how to strengthen your mind so that nothing can get to you, if you want some motivation, you should listen to this book. I really recommend it. And if you don't already have an Audible membership, head over to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast, where you will get 1 free audiobook or 2 free Audible original audiobooks, 3 audiobooks in total. That's audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast.
But we wanted to check out who was popular, because I think this came out of the discussion because Silk Sonic, that one song that we love, came on. The Bruno Mars Anderson .Paak song came out, and we were just like eating our little breakfast and we were vibing to it. And then at the end of the song, we were like, you know what? This song didn't pop off as hard as we thought it was.
Yeah.
What's up with people?
Yeah.
I kept thinking, what's up with other people? What's up with other people? But we soon realized it was like, oh, what's up with us?
Yeah. It has all the ingredients for the summer song. Mm-hmm. If you notice, every single summer there's a summer song.
Yeah.
And musical artists know this, so they plan summer songs, summer song drops and stuff. And we noticed right when we listened to Silk Sonic's song,
this is the one.
Yeah, this is their summer song, and it's everything that we could ever want in a summer song. So we thought, like, this is gonna pop off, and then we were really confused why it didn't. Mm-hmm. Because literally every musical person who has more authority to talk about music than us adores the song.
Yeah. Watching Rick Beato react to that song was awesome.
He was like, oh,
like the first few chords, he was like, oh, this is amazing.
Like, sorry everyone else that came before, but like this song is different.
Yeah, I thought Rick Beato, amazing musician, teacher, whatever, just music producer on the internet, reacted to the top 10 Spotify songs, and that was one of them. He was like very, usually lukewarm and pretty excited, enthusiastic about most songs, but when this song came up, he was just over the moon about it.
He was like, his ears perked up.
Yeah, his eyes widened. Like, it was a genuine reaction coming from him.
So we were like, man, because I also, one of the things to pop off on TikTok, the song choice is actually really important in the algorithm. So if you listen to this podcast for like social media advice, here's your social media advice for this episode.
Oh man, we should have one of these every episode from now on. That'd be pretty cool.
Just hit it sprinkled in there.
Sprinkle.
I mean, it's the same for Instagram Reels too, but
What should we call it? Chanisms? Chan tips.
Chanisms.
Honey tips. I don't know, whatever. We'll think about it after.
But the song you choose is important because the more popular the song, the more trending that song is, the more people are using it, the more likelihood that they are going to serve it to people who like that song. Even if your content has nothing to do with the song choice, because usually it doesn't. So if you wanted your random TikTok or Instagram Reels to do well, just pick a really, really popular song that will help a long way to get you more views. So
you could be pretty shameless about it too. You like, usually some of these songs are tied to a trend.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
Just use the song.
So in order to find these songs back on TikTok back in the day, which is literally like a few months ago, like
time is going by too fast.
Oh no, like last year.
Last year.
In order to find these songs, because sometimes they are made by the TikTok community, like it's an original sound by someone who just like filmed something, and then you're using someone's sound. You have to like use the app and then see if a lot of people are using it, meaning it's coming up on your For You page over and over and over again. That's how you know it is a popular or trending sound. So that also works for popular music of the day. So if you, especially on TikTok, because that's where all the kids are at, it's a really, really easy way to find out what song is going to be popular before it becomes popular.
And therefore, you find out what's popular with the kids.
Yeah.
Which is like super important if you're a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason why you want to find out what's popular with the kids is because when you reach our age, you just don't know.
It's hard.
Yeah.
You just don't know anymore.
Yeah.
It's just not something you are actively served ever.
Yeah. When you're like 15... I don't know how trends come to be or why we like the things we like, but 15-year-olds really are the tastemakers of society.
For real, dude. For real.
It's kind of bizarre.
Okay, one thing that I always I'm a 30-year-old fucking man now. Old as shit, closer to death. I'm about to die. This close. But right before death, which is soon, I realized that the one thing that I keep noticing when something is cool or something's gonna be super extremely popular or whatever, something's just gonna be, the top trend is like usually when people poo-poo something really hard, that's kind of what's gonna be super popular. Yeah. That every single time, like you don't even remember. Like, do any of you remember when Pokemon first popped? Everyone shit on it. There was even like a Everybody Loves Raymond episode of like everybody on Pokemon, and then it was like so wild when Pokemon Go came out, and then your grandparents are going out there catching Dugtrios, and oh my god, a Thunderstone, whatever, and all of a sudden it's not pop culture anymore, it's culture.
Yeah.
And man, what was I talking about again?
The kids are the tastemakers.
Oh yeah, the kids, man. Like, for example, I would laugh at the big tees and the camo pants trend back in the Life of Pablo era.
Yeah.
What was that? Early, like middle 2010s, right?
Yeah, like 2016.
But that was so popular for a while.
Yeah, the weird like hobo chic.
Hobo chic. Yeah, and like I see even people like when they're doing like character designs or drawings, like they actively have characters that look like the fashion of the day, which is very it's crazy. Midriffs are coming back. It's okay. So this is the fucking most wildest shit, I swear to God, that I've noticed just being alive for 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay, when I grew up, we had the bucket hats and then the midriff and the big t-shirt Sean Johns and the big ass baggy jeans.
Yeah.
And then I felt like we've come so far as a society. We had tighter clothes, more fitting. We wanted to be more fit, show off the physique. And I thought it was we're finally going places. And fucking Gen Z comes out and goes, hey, all you people wearing fucking skinny jeans, you're a bunch of lamos. We're going to wear midriffs and we're going to fucking wear like, you know, baggy jeans and shit. We're gonna bring back the bucket hat. What are you gonna do next, Gen Z? You're gonna bring back the visor, bro? Like,
Yes.
no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. I've seen it.
You mean like they do the visor and then the fucking Vash Stampede haircut?
Yes.
No! That's like, I thought like, it's like we went from like Neanderthal to fucking human back to fucking Neanderthal again. Why is this happening?
This is such a tangent, but like, so I had this revelation about the whole midriff trend. I don't hate it, because if all of us millennials can look all the way back,
It's
like,
weird. It's like the Britney Spears thing all
yeah,
over
the
again.
Britney Spears,
which is what we were raised on. I don't hate it
Aguilera.
either. It's kind of nostalgic.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, I remember when I was like kids are starting to look like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And that's weird.
Like, the thing is, like, we're like between, like, we're right on the last ends of millennial, so we relate most with early Gen Z. We don't really relate to a lot of the other older millennials.
No, not really. We're not like big on Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, or 80s
Or Sega.
Cartoons and
Yeah, we don't
stuff. We're more of the anime.
Yeah, the 90s kids in a Pokemon.
Yeah. And
Really into
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Pokemon.
And, yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Britney Spears,
Digimon.
NSYNC,
Backstreet Boys.
Or,
Linkin Park.
Boyz II Men. that whole era. For us, we were like we were like at the tail end of that like midriff crop top like trend. So I was way too young to participate in like the crop top.
Yeah,
I was like a child.
I was 5 or 6 at that time.
Yeah,
And
so
then
I was
like
younger.
people like the older brothers and sisters were like dressing up like NSYNC or Britney Spears
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah.
Now the frosted tips are coming back.
Which is wild. Which is the wildest thing. It's the crazy.
And then the curls, like the
can't
perm.
believe it.
For the boys, they have like the perm. And
Like going to the mall and
Yeah.
looking at the youngsters' fashion, going like, I'm
old.
I cannot relate to. Why is the stuff that I was raised with and I thought was lame?
yeah.
Why is it coming back? Like, I don't get it. I guess this is what the 80s kids feel like when seeing their fashion like regurgitated back
Yeah,
at
like
them.
why? So what I realized is I've been trying to get really fit. The fittest I have ever been in my entire life.
It's kind of crazy. Like you have hulky ass arms. Look at that. Look at that. Go closer to the camera. Go. Yeah. Just gonna squeeze your neck.
I still can't open a jar by myself.
No. Useless. This is all just for aesthetics.
Yes.
No practical purpose to any of that.
No. I still have no hand strength. But as a 28-year-old woman, you have to start adjusting to your age, I guess. Which, like, I'm lucky because I'm Asian and, like, I technically have the body of, like, a under 25-year-old. So it's easier, I guess, for me. But what happens, I looked this up because I was really confused about the way my body was losing weight, because like only certain body parts would shrink at a time, so I look really disproportionate. I look weird. So I was wondering, like, why is my midsection the last part to go? Like, I look like
Like you're wearing fat pants.
Yeah.
You say it all the time.
I
like,
look like I'm wearing
like,
fat
oh,
pants.
the fat pants are shrinking.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Because
like,
it really feels like if you could just like pull that down,
yeah.
you look how you'd expect yourself to look, I guess.
Yeah, because like all my like upper body lost all the weight like altogether, and then like, but specifically like my midsection wouldn't go away, and I was like, why this never? I don't remember this being a problem when I was younger. I was like what I would call like skinny fat when I was younger, where I could like eat anything and like not get fat, but it wasn't like I was super in shape either. But when you're younger, for a woman at least, you have more estrogen, So that causes you to put on weight in all the best places, in the hips, in the chest, and not the midsection. So no matter what, if you're basically younger than 18, you can kind of pull off a crop top without having to be super, super thin, without having to
have a strenuous regimen.
Yeah. Because your body naturally is not like okay in that area. But as you age, you have less of estrogen and you have more of this other hormone that is mostly in like men, but like women have it too. It's just in like different amounts. So as you age, you have less estrogen and more of this other one. I forgot what it's called. And that one causes the gut. So that's why like when you are I guess middle-aged woman or old, as you age, you tend to look less like an hourglass shape and more like straight. Because instead of all the fat being deposited in your hips and in like your chest and all like the best places, it makes you look more masculine basically. And I was like, you know what? That's really interesting that the crop top belly area is becoming in vogue again, like the Britney Spears era, because only Gen Z can participate. Because millennials were getting to an age where like, in order to do that, I would have to work out and have a really strict diet in order to really like lose all that midsection to look like a young person. A young person can just exist.
Wouldn't even have to try.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, this trend is strictly like a youthful trend.
Yeah, and it's sort of like a fuck you to the millennials. Like, hey, we can pull this off while you can't.
Yeah.
And you probably look foolish if you tried.
Because it's you're not at that age where that's even appropriate anymore.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was like a huge tangent, I think. Oh, TikTok, that's right. So when I'm on TikTok, I am constantly trying to find sounds.
Yes.
What is the popular song? And what I noticed is, like, before it was a little bit easier, because, like, that song, Benny, or...
We're gonna get copyright strike.
I heard that song way before it ever was on the radio.
Reached the radio, yeah.
And I also knew that, like, all the kids know it, though. So it was a way for my boomer ass to, like... be like, oh, I'm hip. I know what the kids like. Which is really fascinating to me because, like, back in the day, you find out the hot song by like the Billboard 100.
Yeah, or MTV. That's not a thing anymore. The Gen Zs, they don't know or care about MTV.
No,
TikTok is their MTV.
They don't even care about the radio, I don't think.
Oh yeah.
Like we would learn. Back in the day, you would find songs on the radio and go, what song is that? And you didn't have a smartphone to pull out and go, Siri, what's the song? Like, you had to go, like, remember the lyrics and then, like, type it into Google and hope that someone also did the same thing. And that's... So, as we were listening to Silk Sonic, I was like...
Oh, right. This was about Silk Sonic.
Yeah.
Nice.
As we were listening to that song, I was like, how do you find out what's the popular song these days?
Right. And we were like, how do you do that? And then I told you, Beato looked up, the top songs on Spotify. So let's try looking at that.
Oh, of course.
Right.
Because one of the things I realized is, like, I can't really do that on TikTok anymore because TikTok is quickly becoming really, really corporate where they're only promoting songs from artists who are being paid to be promoted.
You used to be able to find like the next big indie sensation.
Yeah, like
on
really
TikTok.
quickly.
Yeah.
But now it's so much harder. Like, you really have to spend a lot more time on the app to really get a sense of who everyone's listening to. Mm-hmm. You can't just go to trending viral sounds, like the list that they have on TikTok, and go like, oh, they're not actually viral. It's TikTok trying to make you think they're viral. Because if you go and look how many people actually made TikToks using those sounds, usually it's like very like nothing. So people are not actually using these sounds, which is to me a little shady.
A little shady.
So I was like, okay, no one listens to radio anymore. No one cares about the top 100 Billboard whatever. TikTok is no longer quickly after a year, literally a year, is no longer reliable anymore. So how? And when you said, oh, there's the Spotify charts, and I was like, that's genius.
Yeah.
I think that's actually the more accurate depiction.
I would think Spotify and Apple Music.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, and because you cross-reference both of them.
I cross-referenced. First, I pulled up the top 100 Billboard charts, and then I pulled up the top 100 USA Spotify charts, and then I pulled up the top 100 Apple Music charts. They were all different. Whoever was like the top 10, they were all different, and I was like. Oh, interesting. When this happens, I would just take the common denominator. Who here appears in every chart? But
before we talk about who showed up, let's talk about who wasn't there, because we were just as shocked by who wasn't there, because we were so certain we'd see certain people. So, for example, we soon realized the reason why Silk Sonic wasn't popping off was because we're old as we suck, and we're just you know, we're lame now. We're parents now. We're not cool anymore. I'm 30. I used to be really good at being a young person. Can't say that anymore.
Yeah. Well, you knew all like the best songs that were like hot and trending. Now it's like we don't know. Well,
yeah, but then, for example, Bruno Mars came out with, what is that? I want to be a millionaire. So that song that came out when I was in like second semester of college or something like that. Bruno Mars was like big when we were young.
Yeah.
When we were young, which felt so long ago. So it makes sense why he's like in like the 200s if we were talking about Spotify plays. Yeah. And then we were curious and we were like, okay, well, who's kind of big? Then let's kind of compare them. So I immediately thought, okay, Billie Eilish, because like that she seems to just be the young person's icon right now.
Yeah.
So we checked Billie Eilish. Her newest material has like about 400,000, right?
I don't remember if it was her newest. Her recent stuff isn't popular.
Right.
And
you want to talk about this?
Oh yeah. So like, her newest stuff had about like 400 million streams on Spotify, versus 290 million streams.
Wait, was it million for Silk Sonic or was it thousand?
Is million.
Sorry, excuse me, million. Forget I said thousand. It's million.
So Silk Sonic had 290 million streams on Spotify. Billie Eilish, her newest stuff, the one in her, what's it called? Reinventing Herself.
I'm the new Billie Eilish.
Yeah. In that album, her most popular songs in that album only had 400 million streams, versus Bad Guy and Bury a Friend was in the billions.
Well, yeah, but those songs are quite old by now.
But still, that's like the comparison between peak popularity Billie Eilish to now.
Yeah, I guess so. And then we were like, okay, that's we understand that we're old and stuff, but I have friends. And I have my brother, who is like a Gen Zer. Yeah. What are you? Who was like, oh, they're really into Travis Scott. And like my friend saw The Weeknd when he was just like nothing, just some dude. Yeah. And the shocking part was like people like, and for example, my brother's generation was really big on Justin Bieber, and we did check Justin Bieber immediately after Billie Eilish, and we saw that he had the most. Yeah. And basically, Peaches is the summer song, not Silk Sonic.
No. Yeah.
Which is hilarious. Which is awesome. Daniel Caesar's awesome. Oh, that new guy. I forgot his name. Yeah. But he's also featured in it. He had like amazing voice. So it seems as though Justin Bieber wins again. Takes it. But still not like Justin Bieber kind of like in the lower, like the upper, like what is that, like 20 to 15 or something, like, I don't know.
Yeah, in the 20s.
The 20s.
Top 20s.
Top 20s. But there was this one new person that kept coming up in all of the charts.
And her name is Olivia Rodrigo. And I thought, who is this person? I literally have never heard of her. And
so I immediately texted my friend who knows music, and I was like, hey, who's this new person? Who is this new? I have never heard of this person in my life. Well, did she have any songs that were big on TikTok?
Yes.
Okay.
Driver's license.
So you kind of know. Well, let's see. Driver's license has Okay, so I'm looking at Olivia Rodrigo's Spotify right now, and Driver's License has 784 million plays.
That's pretty good for a new up and coming artist.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane. That's
triple Silk Sonic.
Yeah.
Better than Justin Bieber.
Better than
Billie
double
Eilish.
Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Right. So I asked my friend, and he's like, "Oh yeah, like I don't know, she's whatever."
We're old.
We're old. So like he's like, but I agree with his assessment that like I really he said he really liked her first song. Sounds like the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, which is like what I love, and that was really intriguing because when he said that, I was like, okay, if it sounds like the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, that means they have an electric guitar. If you have the electric guitar, that's just. Like, I thought that the industry hated that stuff.
Yeah, because it's all about beats and rap and computerized music and not like actual instruments.
Yeah. But we listened to the first song, and to me, I was like, "Whoa, this sounds like a punk pop song. Yeah. Like, what is this?" And to me, it sounded like Nirvana's. What is it? It's I think Floyd the Barber. Mm-hmm. So yeah, look up Floyd the Barber and play Olivia Rodrigo's song Brutal, which is the first song from the album. The riff kind of sounds eerily similar.
Basically the same. Yeah. The same thing, but more highly produced.
Well, yeah, but like I appreciate the energy and the angst, and the lyrics are what got me. The lyrics were like, oh whoa, if this is what the kids are feeling, the kids are basically like us.
Yeah.
The kids are so mad at all of you.
The kids are so angsty right now.
Yeah.
We're going through an angsty period.
I think we're going through an angsty period of like really upset kids.
Yeah. At least like, so when you compare it to like the 90s Nirvana, that era, I said like, when you think about it, there were like two realities playing at the same time. There was the Britney Spears pop music, very like corporate, shiny Michael Jackson stuff, and then there's like the grunge punk scene that was happening at the exact same time. So
did you know that Nirvana dethroned Michael Jackson in the Billboard charts all way back then? Isn't that crazy?
That like blew my mind when
that's crazy, right? But that happened.
Yeah.
These random, like this guy from Aberdeen, like some dude playing these almost out of tune songs, he just became an overnight sensation because somehow, some way, his music spoke to the youth.
Yeah. And I think we're seeing that again, that there's going to be a dual reality. Like, there's some people who will be really into this like pop punk sound, this really angsty music that really like defines being a teenager, for the band kind of sound. And then there's gonna be a group of people who like the corporate, shiny, like Disney-ified basically stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting, and then I kept looking into this girl, and I googled her, and it said she's an actress, because I was confused. I was like, wait, but she's a musician, and it turns out she was a Disney Channel star, and I immediately was like, oh.
She's a plant.
Yeah. So
this is the weirdest part about Billie Eilish and this new artist. It's like the music industry is making an artificial thing of what Kurt did back in the 90s.
Yeah.
It's like they discovered like, oh, we can't have a loose cannon like that. We can't control somebody like that.
Yeah.
How are we going to make money?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. This is really speculative and like a little like, I don't know. But like I really think that Billie Eilish and Olivia Rodrigo are kind of just like sanctioned.
Yeah.
Sanctioned musicians.
That was really interesting to me because I looked her up, this Olivia girl. I looked her up before I heard this particular song, Brutal. Because I think I've heard briefly Driver's License, and I've heard, because of TikTok and some other songs I have used on like Instagram or something. I'm like, I've been hearing a lot about this girl, and she sounds very like folky, but also kind of like Billie Eilish, that like sleepy sing-songy voice. But then when we read a lot of articles that said like she is pop punk coming back, and I was like, what? Her music doesn't sound pop punk. And then we listened to Brutal, and I was like, what the heck? This sounds like our childhood.
It sounds like soft Paramore.
Yeah.
With like Nirvana or something.
Yeah.
Like it does the quiet thing in the verse and then really loud, shouty thing for the choruses. And I was thinking like, are there any more songs like this? And not really.
Not really. So that's one of the reasons why.
And it is really telling that like Brutal has the least amount of plays. You know. But it's really interesting that like they even bothered in the first place to come out with a song like that.
Yeah. And it felt very, to me, weird to be like, this is a Disney Channel star. Basically, she's doing the Selena Gomez thing, the Demi Lovato thing of like, oh, I was a Disney star, now I'm gonna like do my own thing. I've aged out of Disney, but you know, I'm part of the machine. So I need to do something, do music, I guess. So I thought that was weird because we've seen it time and time again, like the Disney star turns into a musician, and then like
Miley Cyrus,
you know, Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato, all the Mickey Mouse Club, like it's been done, and it's always like their music has always been very pop corporate.
Yeah, and it's so interesting now that they used to like peddle like, oh, I used to be in Disney star or whatever. They don't say it anymore.
No,
it's like they actively don't want you to know because we had no
we
idea.
Didn't know.
So imagine if we didn't really look her up, we would have thought like, oh, this is a new indie artist, new indie sensation.
It like came out of nowhere. Turns out,
yeah, right.
Just no. She was like raised for this.
Yeah,
bred for this.
And like, you know, that being said, like I appreciate it. I appreciate guitar music coming back, and like she seems to have like this awesome energy, even though I think some of it is just sort of like, you know, derivative of, you know, more, you know, popular people like Benny and Billie Eilish. But at the same time, I'm like, oh wow, this is this is crazy. I can't believe guitar music is coming back. But what is that?
But really bothered me was like it didn't feel real.
It felt manufactured.
Yeah, because like what you really get from like people like Nirvana, if that kind of music speaks to you, is that it's not sanctioned. Yeah, it just speaks its mind. It just speaks directly to you, and you either like it or not. And the people who like it really, really, really love it. And like it seems like the kids are rediscovering Nirvana for some reason.
And it's really resonating to them.
But to see that
the music industry is doing this on purpose.
Yeah. Whereas before was a complete accident, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a complete accident. Like, oh, this guy is topping the charts and he's just some 27-year-old dude. Let's make him rich and famous and just milk him dry. Yeah.
And when like Hollywood or the music industry or cultural institutions like these do something, they're putting their money, like they're artists are tastemakers. We know when we stick our finger in the wind which direction it's blowing towards. And
I think that's a skill not a lot of people have. Yeah. Right?
So when you notice like the corporations adopting this weird anti-establishment thing, they're like, so we feel the wind blowing towards this f*** the man attitude. Let's make an artist who we can control, make that kind of music, which is it's so backwards. It's so like, I know they hate us, but let's produce an artist we can control that feeds that so we can make money off of it. That's bizarre to me.
Weird,
that's
right?
like, it's like they learned their lesson from the 90s, and we're like, you know what, we need a young person we can control. And I thought about this and was like, okay, for one, it rubs me the wrong way because I can smell it from a mile away. But do you think that people will actually fall for it? Will these types of artists actually have legs? Will they be able to fool the public and really like placate people and make them, I don't know, okay with this like fake anti-establishment art to consume?
I think first we need to talk about is there really an anti-establishment movement going on? Because I don't think we talked about that, because like this all is predicated on does this actually exist? Is there actual sentiment of people really getting fed up with like EA or Blizzard or Disney or whatever? Because I think if I were to say yes, that kind of like leaves the audience like what proof do you have? And I think we have like at least a few feelings when we stick our finger into the wind.
Yeah.
And go, I think it goes like this.
So something I've been thinking about for a really long time. This is like years of thought. When people started saying and laughing at kids who said they want to be YouTubers one day. They grow up thinking, instead of being an astronaut, instead of being a doctor, a policeman, or whatever, they have dreams of being a vlogger or a YouTuber, and people will like, oh, haha, how stupid. But I really didn't think much of it for the longest time. I just had this in my head that like, that's really interesting that like that's a career path that kids kind of want to aspire to be. And I think the reason why people poo-poo it is because they think it's vain. They think it has everything to do with like wanting to be famous, wanting to be a celebrity or live that lifestyle. But I realized I don't actually think that's it. I don't actually think it has too much to do with fame, because if you translated that line of thinking to when we were kids, if young millennials, if we were told, we would think, okay, fame, that would mean becoming an actress or a musician. Actor, actress, musician. That line of work just for fame doesn't attract a lot of people. I think, contrary to popular belief, I don't think a lot of people want fame in itself. Like, I think some do. But I don't think the majority of people just like, my reason for living is to be famous. Like, no. But what would have attracted us is if they said, like, well, you can make a lot of money doing this. And it's
a living.
Yeah, you can make a
really
living,
good living
doing this. The reason why I would relate it to actress and musician is because even, like, you think it's out of your reach. You think, like, oh, maybe someone far more talented, beautiful, whatever than me could do that, but like, no, that kind of fame and fortune doesn't exist for someone like me. I think kids want to be vloggers because they see how viable it is. It's not just the fame, I think it's part of it. It's not just the fortune, I think it's part of it. I think it's the fact that they're learning that it's possible for you and I, for an average person, to sell merch
and win big on the internet,
get views,
right,
to whatever. They're learning that you need multiple sources of income. They don't think in those terms. They think, well, if I were to be a YouTuber, I guess I'd have AdSense, I'd have brand deals, I'd have merch, and I'd have a Patreon. That's basic. Like, they don't think of it like, oh, I need multiple sources of income. They just go, I need to do these things to make money.
Because they see their favorite creators doing the same thing.
Yeah. And having kids think that way, they're thinking like little entrepreneurs.
Oh, yeah.
Little business people. And whether they know it or not, they're kind of being almost bred to be an independent person, to not, because when we were growing up, we were bred to be an employee. We didn't think that we could just be YouTube. That came later. That came like after us.
We had to see so many people over and over again make it happen for us to go, oh. Just the same thing with having a career and becoming an employee requires a lot of hard work, right? To become an internet personality. Because
when we were growing, I think millennials at the time would look at other millennials who became YouTubers and go like, how do you make money? What do you do? What do you do? You just film videos all day and
play video games?
Yeah, like what? I don't get it. But Gen Zers had to idolize these millennials and then become their own version of like a YouTube internet celebrity. And then now even younger Gen Z kids are now looking up to other Gen Z kids, and like they had to have seen other people come before them pave the way and show them like, this is how you do it. Merch, AdSense, all this stuff.
Patreon.
When we were doing it, no one knew what they were doing. when like our people in our age range, I guess, and slightly older, I want to say like the like Michelle fans of the world, if you're into makeup, or like the Wong Fu Productions, and like the Freddie Wongs or the Philip DeFranco, like those ilk of like the OG Nigga Higga.
Oh yeah.
And like Kev Jumba.
Community channel.
Yeah. You really had to you really had, like, if you were, I guess, around that age range, you probably thought like, oh, these dumb people making dumb videos on the internet. You didn't think that was a job. Now people think that's a job. They know, they don't even think, they know that's a job. And I think that is major proof that like kids are becoming more anti-establishment, that they don't think that they need to work for a company. When I was growing up and I wanted to be an artist, I didn't think, oh, I can just draw and film myself and put it on the internet and then I'll get paid to draw. I didn't think that. I thought I need to get good so Disney can hire me. Like, we were bred to be employees. Yeah. It's different.
Whereas
now.
in these kids, they go, instead of that, or they just don't even pay attention to that. They're super hyper focused on like becoming like the PewDiePie of this, or their own beauty influencer. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I guess it's no secret now. Janet, you and I really like Best Dressed stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ashley from Best Dressed channel, and like I think we talked and opined in one podcast about how like when I saw her, at least I thought she was revolutionary, because she was the most unusual beauty influencer, because she was so brazen and unafraid to be derpy and embarrassing in front of camera, whereas in everyone else would be hyper self-conscious about that. And then we immediately saw that like there's this hyper I don't know, the value of being a genuine person for some reason is super high these days. And then as we saw Best Dressed coming out, we saw all sorts of different styles of her. Other people trying to do their Best Dressed, very genuine, very filmic style video. And then we noticed these girls who went to like all sorts of different art schools do this thing. And then when you showed me that, I was like, okay, that's the future. Yeah, that's where we're going. And I didn't want to tell anybody until it was painfully obvious. But that was 3 or 4 years ago. Yes. When as soon as we saw these like girls who were sharing their experience at art school with the entire world, I was like, okay, if I were the art school, I would encourage that, because you are just a big billboard for me. Yes. And at the same time, as the creator of that, like, it's like showing the world that you go to Hogwarts. Yeah. It's just pure amazing content, because you're just living life. And if you're figuring out creative, artistic ways to document your life, that's just golden content right there. And like for you young people, us older people are at a huge disadvantage because like, you know, it's either we've done those stuff or we haven't done those things. And even if we like for some strange reason applied to Cal Arts and got in, it would be still super unrelatable for us to like make a art school vlog
because we're old.
Because we're old.
We're not relatable.
We're not relatable at all, but we learn from that crew of people. Because I was talking to you about this. I was talking about like we owe Ross Tran a great deal, don't we? You have to admit, because when I was like paying attention to YouTube, I was like, okay, so there's like Fengzu, and I used to watch this dude Sakura, and like there's all these people, but they were all the same flavor of like, we're gonna be behind the camera, we're not gonna show our face, but we're just gonna like draw it. Yeah. But then like Ross was like the first person who was like, I'm gonna be on camera, I'm gonna do the YouTube thing, I'm a YouTuber, and everybody's sort of like a carbon copy of Ross. I'm not gonna mention their names, but they're sort of like, they're Ross if they were more like this, or they're Ross if they're more like that. When I saw these art girls, I was like, oh, this is the next thing.
Yeah.
This is changing the game.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if I had the foresight of strapping a camera on me when I was crying and dying and sweating and I looked like shit and I was vomiting at Art Center, I would be rich. I'd be whatever these youngsters think is valuable in society by now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I guess let me give you a timeline of when
we're talking about like deep internet YouTube culture.
Yeah. So like, I think I've said it before, but like, I don't know if you can tell, I'm really into YouTube.
Yeah.
Of the millennials, we're all kind of into different things depending on what spoke to you. Most of us are kind of into anime, but YouTube, only a select group of millennials are really into YouTube, and that was me. I really like that. I didn't have I didn't like watching anything on TV after I discovered the internet. I was
like, what was the point?
Yeah. Because it'd be mostly reruns.
Dude, I would watch music video after music video on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I would do when I discovered the internet.
A lot of people from like my area of where I grew up eventually became famous YouTube people. I won't name drop, but like a lot of my classmates and stuff like that became famous YouTubers, and it's I was just really obsessed with it. Plus there was like a whole like community of like Asian YouTubers who like I had so many people to idolize, compared to like Disney Channel. Compared to like what, like actresses aren't relatable. I don't idolize them. They're just like, oh cool, this cool show, whatever. But these people, they seem like, oh wow, they're like, for the longest time I wanted to be a singer-songwriter YouTube musician.
That's why you took up guitar and all this stuff.
Yeah,
when
but
you were a kid.
no, that's not in the books. And because of like a lot of the people I went to school with eventually became legitimate musicians on YouTube, and I was really obsessed. I have been obsessed. So I followed Michelle Phan, and I saw different generations of YouTube come and go. Yeah. Michelle Phan was like the OG beauty makeup influencer. A little after her came people like Jen Im, who is more...
I really like Jen. Yeah. You know, when you introduced me to her, I thought she was like, oh, wow. Out of everyone you watch, I think Jen's like the coolest. She seems kind of down to earth and all that stuff.
At the time. And she's more like of a fashion YouTuber, less specifically beauty, which meant that she had more of like a lifestyle vibe. It wasn't like makeup tutorials or like how to dress, or it had some of that, but it was mostly like, look at my life. Look at who I am. And that makes
I'm going to this resort.
Yeah. 1,000 times more relatable than someone like Michelle Phan, who was more educational in a way, edutainment, I would call it. And then, like, at the time, we were like, oh, wow, look at this, like, really relatable girl, really, like, reminds me of me, or whatever. Then we discovered Best Dressed. And
it's revolutionary.
Jen?
When you see somebody that kind of just, like, changes the genre, it's, like, always like, wow, how did you have the foresight to do this? Because now everybody is a carbon copy of Best Dressed.
I just wonder where we'll go from
even
here.
the art school people.
Yeah. And what was amazingly shocking about her content in particular was how truly relatable, even compared to someone like Jen. Like, you can really see the difference in style, in age, and I don't know how
presentation, every mise-en-scène. She cares 1,000,000 times more about making her stuff look filmic as opposed to the standard look at me holding the camera.
But also, it's more about just, like, realness, at least trying to capture that as much as possible. Even compared to Jen M, who I already thought at the time was very relatable to me, Best Dressed was something else. I was like, oh, when you put the content, because at the same, I was still watching both of them. Like, whenever they'd put out a video, I'd watch whatever video they'd put out. And when you are watching their videos back to back, you really start to notice, like, one is definitely more, this is who I'm going to show you on the camera, and this is who I actually am in all my disgusting glory. And
that's what she does.
Yeah. And there's something so charming about that. And that's kind of just where we are now as a whole on the internet. This is the same, even though I'm specifically talking about beauty and fashion and lifestyle content, this is like, it transcends niche.
Yeah, this is the same. I think when I was growing up and I was still at Art Center, still listening to, like, whoever was on YouTube at the time, all these people wanted to talk about, you know, what it was like being a professional and, like, tips on how to become a professional. And then you start to see people loosen up and show their personalities more, like when I mentioned Ross. And then you see people really show their personalities to the point where they show, like, themselves making a cup of tea.
Yeah, so,
and their morning thoughts about their existential crises or something, you know.
To relate it back to art, what back in the day you would do if you were an artist which was really popular, was speed paints.
Still popular. Still people do the whole thing where, like, they're talking in speed painting, even though the genre hasn't changed in, like, 15 years.
That was, like, the next iteration.
Right.
It was strictly, like, speed paints.
For the just reason of learning how to paint better.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Like, maybe not even, no voiceover
commentary.
Even. Just, like, this is how I painted this thing.
Oh, like the Nomen DVDs.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And then you get people talking over it. So, like, they might share an interesting story that has nothing to do with the actual art in itself, but they would be drawing or painting or whatever and then talking over it, which is the next iteration of it. And you don't show your face. It's just, it's almost podcast-like or talking head video-like. And then you get someone like Ross where you're a personality on camera. You actually show your face.
Yeah, because at the time it was like, that was when PewDiePie was huge.
Yeah.
Like, so many of those, like, internet personalities who were just, I'm on the camera unapologetically. Yeah. For whatever reason. And, you know, we always say this, the art community is, like, so behind
everything else.
Everything.
Yeah.
So by the time Ross came, it was just like, oh, finally someone was brave enough to do, like, the Nigga Higga thing or the Kev Jumba thing, or just, like, Freddie Wong. Like, I am a personality, but I'm also a visual effects artist. I'm also a comedian. I'm also a gamer. Something like that.
And I mean, Ross went to Art Center as well. So, like, he came onto this, like, so much later than, like, when it happens with gaming, when it happens with beauty and lifestyle, like artists are just so behind. And then for that was a thing for a really, really long time.
And just like the beauty influencers, there was just like iteration after iteration.
Yeah, of that.
Yeah.
Some people just show their hands. Some people are on camera and do trends and reviews and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I never saw, like, it was fairly recently after I discovered Best Dressed that I discovered these girls who vlog, basically. They're like lifestyle channels, and they are kind of a amalgamation of fashion, beauty, lifestyle, and art. And that was the most amazing part.
That was amazing because it was watching all the genres come together.
Because these are girls who they're going to like art school. They're much younger than us, in the same like best dressed age demographic. Of, like,
so their relatability is just off the charts.
You just relate to them because they're your age.
Yeah, basically.
And not old with a job.
Hates their life.
Yeah, bitter. And they film themselves go to art school. They film their day. They film
what they're thinking about.
Yeah, they film
on the day-to-day.
Eating, cleaning, whatever.
And it seems so mundane and uninteresting, but I don't know. It's not your life. It's like usually people are teachers or accountants or it's just something normal. Not like these girls, they just, they're talking about painting something and then immediately they're making cup noodles.
Yeah.
And then they're doing their illustration homework. And it just made me feel so nostalgic for those, bygone days. But must make the youngsters feel so like, oh, I want that.
Yeah, I want to go to art
that
school.
is different from what we were raised with.
Yeah.
We were raised with, I want to work at Disney.
Yeah.
Kids are like, I want to be that on the internet.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, oh my God, these people just changed the game.
Yeah, and it's such a like interesting thing that like I really relate to any kind of independent artist who is doing their thing. It doesn't really matter the age to me. I like watching them try to do that. If I were to make a lifestyle vlog of when I was working at Disney, I'm sure it would do fine. It would have done fine. But also very unrelatable.
Kinda, right?
Also, like, you're just kind of making an ad for Disney and nothing else. Like, it's not all that... If I were young and I was watching that, I'd be like, cool, Disney looks cool, but like, I don't care. It
doesn't speak to me and my problems or whatever. Because like when you're not in the school system, you're just not relatable anymore. What, you have to pay taxes, you see your accountant, you work. Kids don't give a shit about that, man.
Yeah. But I can watch like a street artist paint a mural all day. I can watch an older artist who is making a career change, like literally maybe like 40s, 50s, and like they're like, oh, I'm making it work. I got myself a studio. I'm gonna like do this thing, and I can watch that even though like some of these artists are like double my age. And I can watch these young girls film themselves go to art school. And like it was amazing to me. And this was like 3 or 4 years ago. This is what made you want to quit so bad. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, you were so angry when you found these you found these groups of YouTuber creators.
I was angry because I knew I understand all of this. I understand that like as a woman, I have an expiration date.
Yeah. But you will never have an expiration date to me, baby.
You need to find yourself a partner who feels that way. Because we do have an expiration date, and like, yeah, it kind of sucks. But it is what it is. And I'm glad that my value is not determined by my looks. Because that would be extra sad. But I was like, okay, I'm already kind of past the age that people can relate to me.
Oh yeah.
I know I'm not relatable. I know. And that's okay. Like I'll like I said, like that I can still watch and relate to people who are like 40, 50, whatever. Not quite as like, ooh, I want to be you if I were 18 watching like a 20-year-old like make it or whatever.
You relate to the human experience that they're going through.
Yeah. So I was kind of mad, but I was also extra mad that I didn't think of doing that. I was like, why didn't I? Of course that would be so
It
interesting.
was staring at you in the face the whole time. Yeah.
I was like, why didn't I think about filming my awful experience in art school, all the awful things we did to ourselves, all the drama, all the blah. It would have been
It would
so
put The Bachelorette to shame.
Yeah.
It would be like, I'm sorry, art center teachers were giving your students ideas, but it was bound to happen sooner or later. As soon as I saw that 3 years ago, so I was like, oh, every school is going to have one of these.
Yeah.
In there, and like the schools are going to love it. They're going to love it.
And then I immediately was like, oh, I know why I didn't do it. Because I looked at each of the schools, and most of them have a person who is doing that at the school. And I was like, why does Art Center not have one? And I'm like, oh, it's obvious. We would die.
How would you even have time to edit the video?
Yeah. We don't have time.
Week 13? Like, give me a break.
You mean like you just never sleep? Like we already don't sleep, but like,
imagine if somebody did it though.
That would be epic.
Epic. That would be epic, man. I feel like two producers in a studio going like, oh, I want to make this happen. I want to see.
Well, yeah, I dare
you, Art Center people. I double dog dare you.
I bet you there's some Art Center students that listen to this, and like
at your own discretion, though. I don't want to be responsible for you keeling over.
I can't anymore.
Yeah,
I can't go on.
I'm just saying, if one were to pull it off, it would be incredible to watch. I think
so, because we're intense, and it'd be fun, and it's so like good for views.
We can't do that shit anymore.
No, no. I wish I would have taken less classes just so I could do that.
Damn, dude, that's a possibility. You just have to be paying a shit ton of debt for a while, but like I don't know, at a certain point you'd be making so much.
That's true, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of suicide.
Yeah.
You know what? You go to super expensive school just to record yourself fail.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not the best idea.
It's like 2 a.m. You're like.
But again, if one were to pull it off, it would be crazy.
But yes, is that enough proof to show that like it's not complete proof that there is a lot of anti-establishment sentiment, but that's one clue that I saw, that like kids want to be YouTubers. They don't necessarily want to work for the man. They don't necessarily want to be employees. I'm sure a good amount of them still are brainwashed to think that that's the only option. Corporations are going to take notice, and they already are doing it in the music industry. And if you haven't noticed already, there are a lot of celebrities and news outlets that are turning on Hollywood. So it's happening in Hollywood as well.
Yeah, you just read this amazing Hollywood Reporter scathing article talking about Disney and all sorts of studios with their dealings with China.
Yeah, and that's not something that would have happened until very recently.
Yeah, they would have covered for them.
Yeah. They would have been like, Disney's great.
Yeah,
Marvel's
fine. China's our best
great.
friend.
China's great.
Yeah.
And like there are a lot of Hollywood actors and celebrities coming out and being like, no, we hate cancel culture. Please don't do that to us. That's awful. Freedom of thought. We've always been for freedom of thought. Like diversity of opinions. Yes. Mm-hmm. So grifters will take advantage of the zeitgeist, of the shifting of the culture towards this anti, like, yeah, f- the man, like angsty energy that the kids are all about right now. And I think it is what it is.
Well, how can you explain the difference? Because like there's so many people who are like, but I'm anti-establishment. I hate Amazon. I do all the things. I show up to the meetings. Like what's the difference between this brand and that brand? Why are there different brands of anti-establishment?
I mean, I would call it like the corporate anti-establishment versus actual anti-establishment.
I agree. I think there's something weird that the corporations themselves are telling you to be anti-establishment because they want the kind of anti-establishment that they can control.
Yeah. They don't want actual people who hate them.
Because if people actually really, hated them because, for example, Disney has sold out the West to China.
Yeah.
If people actually had legitimate reasons to hate these corporations, they wouldn't participate in commerce.
Yeah. They would just constantly be criticized in the news and media and entertainment, and they don't want that. They lived through that before. And they want to weaponize it for themselves, I think. And I think they feel like if they can control it, then it won't come back and bite them. So there will be people like Billie Eilish and this Olivia girl, because they think that they can control it, which I think is weird. Because anyone who's truly anti-establishment, yeah, you don't tell me what to do. You can't control that person. So for me, we had a fear that, will it work? Will this weird way to try to control, like, give the people what they kind of want to hear, and in a way, like, temper it, like, take the bite out of it, I guess. And I was like, no, it feels backwards. It feels like, no, that can't possibly work. But you were like, you think...
We'll see.
It might.
It might. I think it might work. I think it's really sneaky. What the powers that be, to me, seem like they're doing. They're, like, trying to put on sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
And going,
one of you.
Yeah, one of you, see? And, like, I don't like that because they're genuine feelings of, like, frustration.
Yeah.
All of us feel, like, the way things are governed, even the young people, the way things have been for them. Mm-hmm. The fact that they haven't had any social interaction, whatever frustrates them, because I feel like the kids are out and about right now, man. The kids are out.
So...
Oh, you want to talk about...
Let's
talk about this.
Okay. We were eating at a mall, and... Normally, we've been saying people are out. People are going to the beach. If you didn't see Andre's kickback on Twitter,
that's what I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about Andre's. Can you explain to people what this kickback was?
Okay.
And it just goes to show you how fed up everybody is, and the kids just want to have a good time.
So. Some kid named Andre, apparently.
Like, literally, some kid named Andre. Some kid
named Andre on TikTok. It was his birthday, and he's like, I'm gonna have a kickback at Huntington Beach. And Huntington Beach is, like, close to the beach that we like to go to. We don't like to go to Santa Monica Beach because it's dirty and gross, and it's a tourist trap. Yeah. Everyone who comes to LA goes to Santa Monica Beach.
It's no bueno.
I hate it. And so we drive a little further to this other beach. Huntington Beach is kind of close to it, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna have our a party at Huntington Beach," and then it goes viral, and all of TikTok was like, "Let's go."
So kids, far and wide.
Show up to Huntington Beach, I think last Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, last Saturday. And then, we're just, on Twitter, just scrolling. And then, we're like, why is Huntington Beach trending? And then it just shows, photo after photo and, videos of, a bunch of young teens at Huntington Beach going, yo, where's Andre? We're trying to find Andre. And then like a bunch of police. Well, what I don't like is like these are just a bunch of dumb kids, just trying to have a good time.
Yeah.
And then like once night hit, they like shot rubber bullets at them and pepper sprayed them to make them go home, which is come on. But like they crowded that beach.
That was the wildest kickback I've ever. That's like stuff you'd only see in the movies, man.
We were actually about to go to the beach that day.
Yeah,
and we
seriously.
were like, oh my god, I'm glad I didn't. We wouldn't have been able to get on the beach. We wouldn't have been able to park.
We've just been hearing, "Where's Andre?"
And like kids walking past the car, and we'd be like, let's go home. But also, we were at like the mall this one time. And then you were like, oh, the goths are out.
Oh, the goths are out. The goths are out. Man, if the goths are out, man.
You artists have no excuse.
No excuse. Like, come on.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah, I just saw a goth kid walking by and I just like exclaimed out loud, it's a goth kid. I haven't seen one of those in years. Like years.
Seriously, like I feel like goth went out of style.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
Oh, and there was also this other story when we were going to get our parking validated. We just had dinner at the Taifeng, and then we went up to the to pay for our parking. And I don't know, everyone was laughing and having a good time, but then everyone saw how much
the
parking bill was.
So this particular parking structure, it used to be the first 90 minutes free. And everyone who lives here knows that. Like, you know, if
ever since I came here as a teenager.
Yeah.
It was like that.
Yeah. And during the lockdowns, parking everywhere in this town was free because no one was out. If you had to be, then like they didn't want to hamper your ability to like get groceries or something. Mm-hmm. So like parking became free throughout the city. And then now that like the restrictions are easing, we went back there and I couldn't, like my brain couldn't process it. It said like $2 no matter what. Like it starts at $2.
Yeah, I was like, oh wait, where's in the bottom is supposed to say after the first 60 minutes,
yeah,
right?
It's free or whatever. But then it's like, no, it's like $2 every like minute or something, and then like maximum whatever amount of money. And then so like we all like the group of us, we're not in a group. We were just like
waiting in line to pay.
One of them shouts $2, and then I was kind of confused. Like I didn't know what was happening. And then like another couple was like hysterically laughing and was like, I just said that. And then one of the couples were like, after the koof, nothing is free. And we were just like, oh, how true is that statement? Yeah. After the koof, nothing is free. Because when I was like, no, she's lying. She's lying. I didn't believe it. So I checked the sign, and it really said, like, it's not free anymore. They just pretended like it was never free. That's why all the people that live here all our lives are like,
what the
what? How dare you? Like,
yeah, I was insulted. I was like, I've been coming here ever since I was a kid.
Yeah. I think artists should take advantage by just doing what they want to do on their own, completely independently. I think this is the best time to just make a movie, to make a comic, to make a video game, to start a band, to produce your own music, to do anything on your own. And I understand that like the internet has been around for a while, and people have been kind of doing it on their own for a while. It's not like a revolutionary idea. But I do think now, more than ever, as the culture is shifting this way, it kind of means that your rate of success is going to be higher, and people are more accepting of you doing this. Because like we said, like when we were growing up, this wasn't a thing. Everyone cared about Disney and the studios and the companies. Everyone wanted to be an employee, part of a thing bigger than themselves. We didn't think that we could be the thing. We didn't think that we could do it without these companies. But especially because, in my opinion, people didn't care. I think there will always be a very small group of people who are in love with indie projects and that kind of thing, but it's always been kind of niche. Before, even a few years ago, all anyone ever cared about were Disney movies, or Marvel movies. Whenever we would go to see, like, even slightly more independent movies,
no one was there.
No one cared about, like, some of the more
like when we saw the Phantom Thread in theaters, it's like 2 or 3 people.
Like all the Oscar bait movies, the movies like
which we actually go to.
Yeah, the movies we actually really like to watch more than, you know, the blockbuster movies and stuff. No one cared. Now it's a little bit different. Like people want independently created things for some reason. Maybe it's part of this culture shift. I don't know if it has anything to do with what we're saying, but this is just what I'm noticing. That, like, there is a want and need for original content. And Hollywood for sure is not giving it to you.
And even if they try, there's so much red tape involved.
So
just to make the thing.
So there are these corporate plans.
Yeah, and look at you with the advantage of, like, sure, you don't have the budget, sure, you don't have the special effects or all the professionals, but you have every means to create something at your fingertips. At this point, you could practically do it on your phone.
Yeah.
And that's what people are doing on TikTok all the time, making little mini movies.
Yeah.
And I'm just waiting for... I keep thinking when you're describing this stuff, like, okay, like there must be some sort of stronger tangible proof. And, like, the thing is, like, we can't say that, like, oh, there's gonna be the Scorsese of YouTube one day, and he's coming or she's coming, and they're gonna change the game for everyone, and everyone's gonna want to be this weird hybrid of YouTube, Hollywood, or whatever. I have no idea what the future is like, but I look at the other industries. I always compare what's going on in the fashion industry, what's going on with all the video game influencers, what's going on with all of the news politics people. And how does that relate to art? And, like, I already have the clue that, like, the art community is, like, light years behind what's cutting edge on the internet. And I think of people like the independent people, the talking head people. And I think, like, even though PewDiePie was a talking head talking about video games, this new phenomenon of talking head people critiquing culture or talking about politics or news, I think that industry has become super huge. And, like, if there's any sort of weird cross-pollination, sort of weird, like, DNA through line between them and the fashion people, is, like, the new fashion people like Best Dress and all these new up-and-comers, and, like, the people like Tim Pool and The Quartering, they both value being sincere and genuine with their audience, you know, as much as they can possibly be.
Yeah.
And that wasn't really something that was a thing for us. For us, it was all about what we're not willing to show you. And we're going to try to make our lives look super amazing by going to this resort or going to this fancy restaurant, or, you know.
Yeah, I mean, one of the... I don't know if I should say this, because it kind of gives you the keys to the castle. People who I know who are very talented to use this information to their advantage.
They're like, ooh, tell me more.
It's that us millennials have a tendency to only show you the best things and to look good, like as if our reputation is on the line.
Millennials give too many shits about reputation, I think.
Yeah. I
mean, it practically hinders them sometimes.
Yeah, like reputation, looks, perception,
social standing.
Millennials seem to want people to only see that they have no flaws. To be like, I am someone you aspire to be. I am someone that you idolize, I guess. Yeah. And because I have that role, I can't let you see any of my weaknesses. So it could be from insecurity, it could be from our expectation as a role model or whatever, that we don't want to necessarily show the worst sides of us or whatever. But that means that a lot of the older generation of YouTube is more curated, more like it's only what they want you to see. And that's still the case even with the more relatable the younger, like Gen Z YouTubers and stuff. But what Gen Z has really found out is that it's about the flaws. I'm not trying to be relatable. I'm talking about, like, this is them speaking. Like, we're not trying to be relatable. We just are. Like, Gen Z also really cares about status and looks just as much as the millennials, but in a different way. They want to be relatable. They want to be like, look, I'm not perfect. You like me or you hate me. And that's the appeal.
Yeah, I think the previous generation was all about look at me. Don't you want to be me?
Yeah.
And then this generation's about look at me. I'm just like you.
Yeah. And that's so much more strong than look at me. Don't you want to be me? Don't you want my life? And like,
I don't give a shit about your life, bro.
At a certain point, I don't care.
Yeah.
But I will always relate to someone who is like exactly like me, flaws and all. Like,
has the same problems or thinks about the same, has the same gripes that I do.
Or just like a good friend. Like, think of any of your childhood friends or whatever.
Yeah, they're not like a messiah
figure.
They're
not perfect,
no.
Yeah. But you love them anyways.
Right.
And then your love is even stronger because you know that you can look past their flaws and be like, yeah, they're kind of like this, but like, they're my best friend or whatever. So like, same with like family members. You love them regardless of their flaws. And it's so kind of like genius that like we've come all the way here.
Yeah.
That like, I don't know if it was on purpose. I don't know if someone was like, you know what, I'm gonna like show people how gross I am. Or like,
no, I think it's culture. I think like every culture is a response to the previous culture. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't know. I don't think like all the Gen Zers had a meeting and were like, let's take down the millennials because like we know their weaknesses. They're unrelatable as fuck. So let's be relatable as fuck and like steal their thunder. Mm-hmm. I don't think that happened. It's just like, for some strange reason, when we were growing up, everyone prioritized being like the perfect person on the internet. Mm-hmm. And now it's just that like it seems as though people just want to be themselves. I don't know if Gen Zers were paying attention to maybe their siblings or if they were just paying attention, period, looking at the first kind of prototype YouTubers going like, oh, I love that about them, but there's a certain thing that I can improve upon. And that's sort of like every art, isn't it? Like somebody does something and becomes really popular, and then somebody advances it, and that becomes really popular. But still, you can trace back the DNA of the thing back to the person who came before it.
Because the culture is shifting now and people really want this original content, I think even if it were created by Hollywood, if it were corporately sanctioned or whatever, the corporate anti-establishment thing, whatever that means, people still like it. Just like how people like this Olivia Rodrigo artists because it speaks to them. We're so thirsty for this kind of content. I think now more than ever, people are ready for it. And I think if you do decide to go independent and you make a movie, you make whatever it is, you make a webcomic and whatever, people are ready for it and you have a higher rate of success compared to before. But I say that knowing that I have no proof. This is just a feeling. And I have these feelings occasionally. And I make these predictions occasionally, knowing full well that they're just predictions. I can't, how am I supposed to give you proof of this? You know what I mean? Is there a way for me to research that now's the time, you guys, now is the time for you to
come out with your EP?
Yeah, to do your to do your entrepreneurial project or whatever. Now, more than ever, more than before, no, there's no right time. If you wanted timing advice from anyone, it's kind of hit or miss. But for me, for us, we make these predictions usually a few years too early. So
2 years too early, to be exact.
Yeah. Usually it takes a few years before predictions come true. But they usually do.
They usually do. It's kind of freaky.
Yeah. So whether or not you take my advice, it's just opinion. Truly, it's just opinion. But when I asked you the same question, do you think the rate of success is higher now because of this feeling?
It suggests that you're right, I think, but I don't think we would know for sure until next year. We're so in the thick of things sort of opening up and these new things coming out. Geez, just 3 or 4 months ago, I had no idea what an NFT officially was. There's so many new things that are coming out that I'm like, whoa. I think next year we might see how a lot of these things come to fruition. But right now, I'm like, it seems as though people are becoming more frustrated. Right?
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like the money is in sequels and big blockbuster things like it used to
So
be.
if music's already reflecting, if the music industry already knows, because music's kind of the quickest piece of art to produce, they already know the sentiment, then we will probably see the sentiment all over Hollywood, all over independent comics or films and things like that. But it's going to take time. But right now, I don't know, we talked about how certain directors are frustrated with how how Hollywood dealt with the whole streaming service stuff. We talked about the frustration with just everything, with how with how Disney treats its employers, and how it just seems as though people don't give a crap about Hollywood anymore.
Yeah.
The way we worshipped it. It's not the same anymore. I don't think people will, look at Tom Cruise and be like, oh, he's so amazing. People are going to look at the latest YouTube person. And that's just isn't that crazy? I can't fathom a world where it's like that, but that's where we live in, and it just goes to show you how fucking old I am.
That actors want to become YouTubers. That's insane.
That's pretty insane. You think that The Rock wouldn't have time, or Matthew McConaughey even wouldn't have time to bother with YouTube.
Yeah.
But clearly it was interesting seeing Matthew McConaughey do it, because he's such a strong personality.
Yeah.
and very very not opinionated, but he's very sure about himself, which makes him a great personality. And that was really, really interesting to see. But what is this? People in Hollywood doing YouTube. what is this? What is the world going to look like in 3 or 4 years? Are movies just going to come out on YouTube and people are going to watch it? What's the point? If we're already conditioning people to watch movies and streaming services, then what's stopping you from coming out with your own movie and telling all your friends and family about it, and they tell all their friends, and it becomes, dude, some guy on TikTok said, "Hey, come to my kickback. My name is Andre." And people went. And if they went and then like watched his movie, like imagine like some kid did that.
He mobilized
people. Like the internet has granted us this amazing ability to mobilize people without a single dollar spent on commercials. You don't know how much money Hollywood spends on trying to get you to buy their shit. You know?
Yeah.
And this kid, Andre, just went, "Hey, man, come to my kickback on TikTok." That's powerful, man. That's insane.
He had the best birthday ever.
And he would there was sort of like a weird like little TikTok about him, or like someone was talking about how like, check out how many people came. And he was just like, "Man, I'm so grateful, man." Yeah, he was just like, I just felt all the love, man, or something like that.
Someone needs to make a movie about this.
That's pretty cool.
Like a slice of life coming of age movie. I'm like, they already have their movie title, Andre's Kickback.
Andre's Kickback.
It's so good. Andre's Kickback. Oh my god. And then it's literally kind of like a Superbad-esque movie.
But like White Castle too.
Yeah,
they're trying to get to somewhere.
It's one night.
Like trying to like sneak out of your parents' place during the coup, going all the way to Manhattan Beach, Huntington Beach,
yeah,
and then trying to make it back home without your parents finding out.
Like you're stuck in your car and
Dang.
the police are trying to.
I watch that movie, man.
I watched that. I would.
You like what do you call that when you jump off of the thing and then people catch you?
Stage
dive. Like a little stage dive thing going on.
Yeah. And then at the end it's like based on a real life story.
Based on Andre's true story. For real, dude.
And then like TikTok of Andre you know how you have like a photo of the person or a video,
the actual person.
Yeah, TikTok of
like
Andre.
in Stand and Deliver.
Yeah. I'm like, best birthday ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well,
why won't Hollywood make that movie? Fucking make that movie. What are you waiting for? Take our idea. I don't give a I just want to watch it.
I'd film it.
Yeah.
Make me film it. Hire me.
Sure, you'd be so cheap.
The producer of American Vandal should do that.
Yes.
Should do this movie.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then it'll be on Netflix. There you go. Marketing budget, everything. Pitch.
Took care of it. You didn't have to waste precious brain cells.
Yeah, I think we'll see. We will see. I don't know where the internet will take us, but I do know that this is really cool that someone like Bo Burnham can make a movie.
Yeah, so I guess this episode is pretty interesting because it's sort of like a recap of like our predictions, our prediction episode. Yeah. So what would you tell Janet from January? Mm-hmm. What would you tell her that would blow her mind?
That things are coming true faster than you thought it would. But
for me, it's like I would tell myself that, hey, people aren't as cowardly as you think. Still pretty cowardly. But they're actually, some of them are actually standing up for themselves, which is pretty dope.
I think I would say, a lot of this stuff, this isn't like, this is new for you, whoever's listening, but this isn't new to us. We've been like talking about this for a really long time. And I have always just been wondering when is it actually going to happen? When is it going to incentivize, what is going to incentivize people to really like take the leap? And, a lot of bad things came out of all the lockdowns and everything that has happened, but like one thing I have noticed is like it really put life into perspective for a lot of people, all of this. And if it didn't, what's wrong with you? Like, if this didn't tell you that you can die at any moment, that tomorrow is not guaranteed, that what would you do if
there was no tomorrow?
You knew that you were going to die tomorrow. What would you do? What decisions would you make? Right now, what would you do? And I think those questions popped up into people's head because of all of this. And for that reason, I think a lot of people have been taking the leap. And a lot of things have been innovated in order to allow people to take that leap. Because we live in a whole new generation. Everything that I just said, this is the past. Like these art school girls, all these, this is like years ago.
Yeah.
What is next? You tell me. What are you going to do next?
Show me. Show us.
Like,
let us know what you're doing right now in the comments.
What you're gonna do different? Or
how you're gonna change the game. Let us know.
Take advantage, because you should. If the grifters are gonna take advantage,
then you should
too. Because it's
you might be doing it for the real reasons.
Yeah, and when I felt really kind of sad and hopeless about the state of Hollywood after reading Scorsese's op-ed and knowing that it's true because of my own personal experiences, that Hollywood is inhospitable to art, new ideas, art for the sake of art, while also trying its best to make money and to reality exists as well. But also, like, there used to be a time when that was possible for both to exist at the same time. Knowing that I really don't think that is possible anymore, and unless things drastically change, I don't think it will be possible in the near future. I don't know, maybe in a few decades it might change. You get new leadership, or I don't know, the corporations are not so monolithic anymore, but that made me sad because I spent a lot of my life chasing after this thing that was slowly dying as I was entering it. And then but like now, all of that hope is now put into this thing called the internet. And I don't necessarily think YouTube is going to be the thing, or TikTok, or I don't know. I don't know what is going to be the next thing or whatever. But I do know the internet is 1,000 times more hospitable to art, whatever it is that you want to do, than whatever company you want to work for.
Yeah.
More than ever, because they're fighting against the internet for a reason. They really dislike it for a reason, because it takes the power away from them. When they can't gatekeep you anymore, and you can literally make a webcomic that's more successful than anything they can
Marvel
make.
comes out with,
when you can literally self-fund a movie, when you can
and people will watch it,
when you can make your own music festival, right, and people will come, when you can literally make a TikTok and people will come to your birthday party, like hundreds of thousands of people will come to your birthday party, like people who don't know you. That's crazy. We don't know what the internet can offer, and I think that's the most hopeful thing that out of all of this. Like, if Hollywood is dying, that's sad, but this is rising from its ashes, I guess. And yeah, that's it. Our recommendation today
is Blue Period by Tsubasa Yamaguchi. It is a manga, a fairly new manga. I saw somebody's video essay on this, and I was just moved and floored and just super excited. I immediately went on Amazon, bought this. I think it was on sale for $11 or something like that. And it's the story of a prissy, really good academic student who, does really well in every subject of his class, but he hates going to art class because he thinks it's a drag. But through this story, especially in the first volume, he discovers why art is important to him. And it is sort of like, this comic is for everyone who is passionate about creativity. Doesn't matter if you're a musician or a writer or a artist. There's just so many parallels and relatability to be had with the concept of talent and the idea of what is art for, what does it do, how is it a language, that kind of stuff. And this manga so eloquently explains all of that without going to any hoity-toity art school. So this is Blue Period. You gotta check this out. This is awesome.
It's really nice. It's beautifully drawn. Certain pages are painted traditionally.
Yeah,
I think it is truly something. If you're an artist, especially like a painter or a drawer, I think you're gonna really like this book.
Yeah,
it's basically about a kid who has no passions and discovers through, I guess, competitiveness too, that he kind of likes this art thing. And I think it's gonna like go through all the things that artists with imposter syndrome.
Yeah, man.
Like, I don't understand the stupid Picasso thing. Oh, you should. Or like, oh, talent. You're just born with talent, aren't you? And then like, no, I worked hard for this. And like all the things, all the weird insecurities that only artists deal with, you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So if you like this podcast, make sure to like, jingle, press all our bells and buttons to help this podcast grow. Head over to honeyandabsinthe.com to help support this channel by buying some merch. Check out these other videos over here in order to binge all our other episodes. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.